Ha. Ha. Stop. Okay, I can do it. Hi, fellow movie fans. We just saw Shazam a couple weeks early thanks to the Fandango Early Access Pass. This is the new movie from the DC Extended Universe. Stay tuned to hear if our family thinks you should plan to go see it when it officially comes out on April 5th. Welcome to our non-spoiler review of Shazam, the new movie in the DC Extended Universe. Here's our quick recap. Shazam is it stars Asher Angel as Billy Batson, a roughly 14-year-old foster kid on the search for his mom, and how he becomes Shazam, excellently portrayed by Zach Levi, with the help of his friend Freddy, who's also very well played by Jack Dylan Grazer. Billy not only discovers his powers, but also learns what it means to be a superhero and part of a family while battling a villain who wants Billy's powers all for himself. We'll start with describing the movie using only adjectives.
I guess I'll go first. Entertaining, exciting, fun.
I thought it was fun, enjoyable, and I think it was heartfelt.
Pick one. Fun, funny, enjoyable.
What are you going to say?
Shazam.
Okay. And I would say it's a fun ride. Interesting. It is heartfelt at points, and exciting at other points. Fun. So what did you think of Shazam overall? What are your impressions and opinions of Shazam?
I really liked it. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable, entertaining. I totally believed Zachary Levi as a 14-year-old going through stuff and discovering his abilities, and I thought he was a great actor and very well cast. It was heartfelt. I want to say it was funny, and there were definitely funny parts to it. I don't know if I'd call it a comedy or if it was a drama, just a superhero film, but there were some poignant moments to it, and I just thought it was fun.
I thought that it was a good, it was a fine action comedy movie. It was entertaining. I would go see it again. I thought that Zachary Levi was the best part of that movie by far. I believed him 100% of the time that he was a kid. I thought the villain was not a very strong villain. I thought he was underdeveloped. They tried to develop him a lot. It just didn't come across that way. It just wasn't. The villain could have been written a lot better, but I thought that overall it was a fine movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a fun movie. I'd probably say it's agree with the fact that I think that the acting was really good. I think all the actors did a good job, from the main character kids to especially Zachary Levi, who I believed him as Shazam. I think that, like Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, I think are perfect. I think he's also a perfect person for Shazam, a boy trapped in a man's body that's a superhero. I think that makes some of the scenes really funny. I wanted to see even more of that. I think that the knock on the villain is probably a good one. I think that there was something missing there. It was kind of they tried really hard, I think, to make it a really compelling villain, and so I give them credit for that. It just kind of fell flat in the movie. I think it was more of a very straightforward, like, this is the bad guy, you got to defeat the bad guy kind of thing. But they clearly wanted more than that. There was a couple kind of surprises in the movie, which I think were really cool. I would say the first 2/3 of the movie I thought were good. again, fun. Some amusing parts. It wasn't as much as a comedy as I thought it would be, which was actually a good thing. And but the last third of the movie I thought was actually very fun and strong and kind of interesting in what happens. Though again, I put it in a different category than other kind of superhero movies. Like it's a fun superhero movie, not like the other DC movies, and similar to
A Marvel movie.
yeah, similar to a Marvel movie in that sense. Maybe like, and again, I would say maybe like an Ant-Man kind of thing, where it's like there's fun stuff that goes on in it. And it's a fun movie, but it doesn't have huge stakes really, or at least you don't get a sense that there's a huge stakes. And it's again, it's an interesting movie, but I wasn't like, oh, this is amazing. And the visual effects on it at times were a little whereas like Aquaman was, Aquaman was like great effects and like huge budget. This is just a smaller budget movie, like you can tell sometimes that's not a lot of money that goes in those effects.
Yeah. I felt like with Aquaman it had great effects and the story was okay. And this time I felt like the effects were just okay, but the story was more. I found the story more compelling.
Yeah, I thought the story was good.
Kind of flip-flop with Aquaman for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought Zachary Levi did seem like the right Shazam, but it just didn't seem like he was actually Billy, the way that kid seems to act. The villain being like, you have to fight the supervillain, this seems like one of the only movies where that is actually acceptable. So it's not that bad. I mean, I don't actually know what you would add for development of the villain. A name maybe, so that we actually know what to call him.
Yeah, I think his name is Dr. Savannah, but they don't explain it. They don't say it really out loud. If you know the comics, you get it more, I think. But I think they did a good job, kind of even without having. If you don't know the comics, which is I don't think we really knew the comics. You still get the basic story, but I think you would get more out of it if you knew the comics a little bit. You would know Dr. Savannah and some of the other things that happened in the movie. But I agree. They tried for the villain. I don't know what else they could have really done.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just felt like something was missing from the villain.
I think
I don't know what.
One of the characters, Freddy, was he was funny.
Oh yeah, his friend. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was really cool. That's the Jack Dylan Grazer guy. I think
Sure.
he's also in It, so I think that's why he's like a growing star. But he's really good. Ryan?
My turn now?
Yeah.
Okay, so for my 30-second or less review, I would say Zachary Levi played a compelling, 14-year-old, but he didn't really play a compelling Billy. Because of how, brash Billy kind of seems, and how independent he is, I feel like he plays like a confused person, a confused child, but not really Billy. Because whenever Billy turns back into himself, it's like, it doesn't really feel like Shazam, because he just, at one point he just, blows off school, and it feels like he's a fun character, but it's just not really entirely Billy's character as opposed to another 14-year-old. And Dr. Savannah, I feel like the character, it wasn't a super bad villain, but it did feel a tad bit underdeveloped, and I feel like the actual actor could have been replaced.
And
Yeah.
also Billy's background, his backstory is revealed later on, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
Different than what you'd expect.
Right. Yeah. Actually, that's kind of the heartfelt stuff, and there's some good emotion in there. I think I actually agree. I think I agree, Ryan, where Billy, when he's a boy, that actor seemed to play him a little more serious than Zachary Levi is when he's supposed to be Billy as a superhero. Yeah. I'd almost say Freddy was more like Zachary Levi. He was a little bit funnier and more interesting that way. And so
yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that's valid.
It did come off a little strange when you think about it that way. I like the characters. I like the idea that there's a kid that turns into a superhero, and learning how to use his powers and learning what the superhero is like and how to be one. It provides a different dynamic than a normal superhero movie.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying though. I think Zachary Levi did a great job playing a 14-year-old discovering his powers, but he does seem a little more like Freddy in his attitude, and that young Billy seems more like a brooding Like, he would more grow up to be Batman.
Yeah, I could see him be much more like a Batman kind of person. He does have a couple funny things he does, or interesting things, but I guess not as funny.
Yeah, that reminds me, like, when there was a chase scene when they went to, like, a toy store, and there was, like, a Batman figurine that said, I'm Batman, and he just threw it. He was like, go, Batman! And it seemed like he's a fun character, but he's not Billy. Like, from the scene in the trailer, when he gets teleported, actually, to the whole, temple complex thing, like, when he's talking to the previous Shazam, he's all like, who are you? He's more just brash, kind of like blows it off a little bit more, and he's also more confused than when he, like, after he leaves there, he just becomes a really, like, whoa kind of character.
Would you like to see, given your opinions of the movie, would you like to see a sequel? Or would you like to see them like introduce Shazam with like the rest of Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and those characters? Like, could you see them being in a movie together? You want to see that?
And this is our spoiler-free review.
Yeah,
So
right.
make sure to.
I want to see more of this Shazam story. I don't think he really belongs with all the other characters. Kind of more like a friendly neighborhood Shazam.
Not like the other one that's a friendly neighborhood something.
I would say I would like to see a sequel, but in the same thing, I don't. Because I feel like the entire, like, first act, or the second half of the first act, and then, like, basically all second act is kind of him still being in kind of like a wow phase and exploring his powers. I feel like he might get some new powers if he had a sequel, but I feel like they've already tied up a lot of stuff. It'd be harder to make a sequel. Now, they could put him into, I'd say, this Justice League they're doing. Now, some other Justice Leagues were a lot more serious, and I feel like he wouldn't fit there. But I could see how they put him with, in another kind of Justice League kind of movie.
He belongs with the Lego Justice League.
He would be good at the Lego Justice League. You're right. That would actually be pretty funny. I think I would like to see another sequel. I think they could do different things with him, but probably I don't know how they would integrate with the other Justice Leagues, like the ones they've got right now. If they change it up a bit and make it a little bit more lighthearted, maybe that would work. And I like some of the things they did at the end of this movie. I think would make it interesting to see how they do a sequel. I think they're setting it up to probably be a sequel, but I think that would be fun to see him in his own sequel with knowing how to use his powers. I don't necessarily know if I would love to see him in a like Justice League movie fighting alongside of Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. I don't know how that would work, to be honest.
Yeah. I would like to see more of Shazam, although I admit that part of the fun of this one was it's his origin story and seeing how he develops and reacts to things. The sequel will not have that same element of it, so I'd still be interested in seeing it, but I'm not sure how it would compare. I don't think I could see this Shazam with the other DC characters. And I don't know any history of the comic books, but he might fit in okay with Aquaman, but he's just not brooding enough to be the current Batman or Superman. Wonder Woman
I could see
kind
Flash.
of in between. But,
Right, Flash could be
I
like
feel
a
like him
good...
and Flash and maybe Aquaman could be like a good mini team
Yeah,
up.
Aquaman maybe. Yeah, he'd be the more like... Right. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I don't want to see a sequel. I don't think it would be as good because my favorite part of this movie was him, discovering his powers. I thought that was really fun, and I really enjoyed that. But I think a sequel could be interesting. And as for being with the Justice League, this version of the Justice League that we have right now is very dark, and he just wouldn't fit in very well with that version of the Justice League. I feel like if they did a reboot of the Justice League later on, then Shazam could fit in with them, depending on how they play the new Justice League.
I feel like part of it's dark and part of it's not.
Well, yeah, the
With the new
new
Justice
the
League.
Justice League, yeah, I think it has
like some of the
makes sense.
animations I've seen, or at least reading,
Yeah.
there are some darker storylines. Like the Injustice comics are just all warfare and stuff, and they have more stuff with the Justice League's kind of a lot more stern. Lego, I could see it's like it's a mix of in between like some darker storylines and Lego. It has dark moments, but I feel like it's also a little lighthearted.
Okay. So given that this movie is going to come out in a couple weeks, on April 5th, would you recommend individuals and families going and seeing this movie in the theaters?
It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'd say it's worth your money to go see it in the theaters.
It's like an Ant-Man kind
Yeah,
of.
like
vibe.
if you're like a superhero fan, then yeah, definitely go see it. I mean, if you're looking for like a great movie, then I mean, I guess not for you. If you're not interested in superheroes, but you're looking for a good movie to go see, then
For as
not
much as
this, but-
superhero movies are great
Yeah.
movies, I
Yeah.
mean that's the
Yes.
thing. It's a good family movie. It's not like, this isn't Schindler's List or some kind of like epic, Oscar award-winning movie. I think it's just it's a fun family film. So yeah, I'd say you should go see it.
I'd say go see it.
Family appropriateness scale, language from Toy Story to Deadpool. I think language is like there's a
Minimal.
couple S words in it, so I'd say maybe like a
I feel like it's
There's some bleeped out stuff.
there's a couple bleeped out things that are
Yeah.
funny. So I'd say like a 2, something like
Yeah,
that,
like a 3.
Is it?
2 or 3.
I have like a 4, maybe.
Okay. On the violence from Muppets to Saw, again, just pure violence, not the gore part, just violence.
2?
there's
I
some
think
violence.
there's some fighting and stuff
give it
like
like
that.
a
Superhero
5.
violence.
That's
Was
not.
it, like, throw-
superhero violence is different from violence.
Well, it's like throwing people into the ground and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I think the
punching.
violence is
Implied
probably
eating.
Like
right. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
some. There's some.
That's more what I was thinking about.
I give it like a
What
5.
she said.
Yeah.
I'd say around a 5. There's like
There's
couple
4 to
of
5.
scenes of-
The gore level,
Like a
from
1.
Bambi to Braveheart. Yeah, I think it was very little
1,
gore
2.
for as much violence as there was.
There was like someone with like a bloody nose. And
Yeah.
that was about it.
Yeah.
part of the villain stuff is I don't want to say disturbing because that's too strong, but
Yeah.
some of them
It's
are
weird.
unpleasant
Like,
to
Yeah,
view.
unpleasant to look
It's so
at, but
weird.
it's not really gory or
Right.
bloody. I think
Yeah.
they avoid all of that. They imply it in through violence, but they don't really show that stuff.
Yeah.
And then any adult situations, Lady and the Tramp to Basic Instinct, there was like 0. So there's really not adult things. So let's play a game called Movie Mad Libs. Everybody provided me with some nouns and verbs and adjectives that I asked them for based on a famous movie quote. So I'm going to give them what their movie quote turned out to be, where I substituted in the words that they gave me. Don't read it until I ask you to read it, please. And then
Would you like underline the part we met?
you're going to just read the whole quote.
We have different quotes.
Nope, you have the same quote. You're just going to read what your quote says based on this famous movie quote. Which the famous movie quote is this.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
I
A
just
very, very good, quotable, strong movie line. Now we will see what their Mad Lib movie line is.
I
of
just
it.
like to say that some of the things you asked us to say, that you asked us to give, did not exactly perfectly fit that. From what I can infer was the part you replaced, did not perfectly fit.
You should read yours to see exactly what it sounds
Father
like.
and
now.
wife.
Read it. Father and husband.
Please read it with the
Oh.
same gusto as Maximus would.
Phone? I don't know. There's no S on that.
Please read.
Fine. My name is Ryan Joseph Cantwell, command of the great armies of the basement, general of the fatal legions, loyal servant to the true emperor, Boba Fett, co-worker to a running sun. Acquaintance to a murdered controller. And I will die my vengeance in this life or the next.
Okay. Rachel?
My name is Rachel Marie Cantwell, Commander of the Song Armies of L.A., General of the Sparkly Legion, loyal servant to the true Emperor Aviard, sibling to a singing son, besties to a murdered jukebox. And I will read my vengeance in this life or the next.
Very good. I like the sparkly legions.
The murdered jukebox.
Okay.
Oh, me.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Tara St. John Cantwell, Commander of the Otter Armies of Paris, General of the Cute Legions, loyal servant to the true Emperor Benedict Cumberbatch, cousin to a swimming son, best friend to a murdered popcorn, and I will paint my vengeance in this life or the next.
Tommy?
Okay. My name is Thomas Evan Cantwell, Commander of the Pizza Hut Armies of Africa, General of the Legendary Legions, loyal servant to the true Emperor Robert Downey Jr., sibling to a running son, parent to a murdered contact lens, and I will contact my vengeance in this life or the next.
Yay!
Contact lens.
And that has been Movie Mad Libs. You can play along at home. So everyone's overall rating for Shazam. What would you give Shazam out of 5 Shazams or lightning bolts? Yeah.
4.5 out of 5 lightning bolts.
I give it a 3.5.
I give it like a 4.2 lightning bolts out of 5.
I didn't know you could do that.
Sure.
You won't once you put some
I'm gonna give 4.5 out of 5 sparkly fingers.
I give it 3 out of 5 lightning bolts.
Mm. So that's our review of Shazam. Please comment below if you've seen Shazam, if you plan to see it when it comes out, goes wide release. Comment, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, share on Facebook. We're going to do more of these reviews as we go forward. There's a lot more movies coming out very soon that we're interested in seeing. So please join us. Thanks for being with us and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.